Hello, I hope you're having a great day. This is Pastor Mark back again for another Bible study on Wednesday. I hope your day is going well. Here on this 15th day of February 2023, the sun is shining. It looks like it's a pretty day, and then you go outside and it's like, whoo, it's cold. Just a couple of days ago it was 60 or 61 degrees. I think to right now, I think it was 28. So yeah, land of extremes around here on the Great Plains. However, getting right into the Bible study today, in Second Peter. 2 Peter chapter 1, the third verse. I'm reading from the New King James Version. As his divine power has given to us all things that pertain to life and godliness, through the knowledge of him who called us by glory and virtue. This verse to me, I'm going to say it this way because I can't think of a better way to say it. It makes me feel good. Why, Pastor Mark? Why does this make you feel good? Because God has given to us everything that we're going to need that pertains to life and godliness. So, everyday life and our walk with him. So, some of you know, I like to cook. I'm not a chef. I've never been formally trained. I didn't have anything like that. I just like to cook. I don't cook every day. I don't want to cook every day. But I like to cook. Most of the time, I don't really follow a set recipe. I just kind of season things to taste. And therefore, I'm making it, for myself and what I believe my family likes. However, sometimes I do follow a recipe. And when you have a recipe, those of you who cook will be able to really grasp this analogy, because I am going somewhere with this. When you have a recipe, and maybe it's a recipe that calls for varied ingredients, so you're not just looking at, flour, water, eggs, and buttermilk. You've got maybe 10, 15 different ingredients. I recently made, a few weeks ago, I made a gumbo, which is a Cajun style soup, if you please. Chicken, sausage, and shrimp I had in my gumbo, along with all the other ingredients. And there are quite a few. But the thing is, following this particular recipe that I was following, timing was everything. I had to have everything chopped, cut, measured out in advance. I didn't have time to stop and go, chop the celery. That takes too long. I've got a problem now because I didn't continue stirring this, keeping this roux moving before it burned. So in that respect, I had all of the ingredients prepared before. Ideally, you have it prepared before you begin. Have you ever watched a cooking show? I know that my wife and my youngest daughter in particular, but I think my daughter Marissa also likes to watch the Great British Bake Off, at least occasionally. They don't always have all of their ingredients measured out ahead of time. They're thrown into it, and they have to get the ingredients and scoop it out and do their thing. But if you've ever watched a cooking show, I don't know, fill in the blank. One that comes to my mind is a man named Chef Jean-Pierre. He's a French native. He lives here in the States, and he's been here for probably 40 years of his life. He's a well-known chef. He's written several books. He had a cooking school for a while where other people learning the trade would come and get an education and become chefs and run restaurants and things like that. He's a pretty good cook. If you look him up on YouTube, you're going to find a man who does a lot of different recipes, but all the ingredients are prepared before the show. And he may have 10, 15 different little dishes, little bitty dishes, with all of these ingredients in each dish. And sometimes there's a very particular order, and sometimes there isn't. But my point is, everything that's going to pertain to the completion and success of that recipe, he has prepared ahead of time. Some of you just connected the dots. God's divine power has given to us all things that pertain to life and godliness. He has prepared it. It's measured out. And sometimes there's an order to the recipe in order to have success in the recipe, meaning it turns out like you hoped. Some recipes, it doesn't really matter a whole lot the order that you mix the ingredients, but there are quite a few where it's pretty critical. There is a thinking of like a bread recipe. There is a time in the recipe, in the preparing of the dish, of resting. You gotta let the dough rest. Well, why is that important, Pastor Mark? You need to give that yeast time to do its thing, and the dough will rise. And then you fold it up again, knead it one more time, put it back into shape, and sometimes there's a second rest. Sometimes there's not. Sometimes it goes straight into the baking pan and into the oven. But sometimes, depending on the recipe, there's a second rest. And now, when it starts coming up, now into the oven. It varies from type of bread to type of bread. What am I saying? For some of us, there was a time in our lives where we could see the hand of God working. And we thought it was going to be just like that forever. And then, back shelf. What? Sitting in a bowl with a cloth over the top and we're resting. Or we're in the oven and now the heat comes and it's very uncomfortable and we were thinking, I thought I was in God's will. I thought I was being led by the Lord. I was trying to do the right thing. Boy, this heat is really intense. You follow what I'm saying? In the end, you have the completed dish. And it's good. But that's when you eat it. That's the end. Our lives are a continuous process until the end. Then we're complete. In His eyes, we're complete. Now, in Philippians, did it too many times, sorry. I thought I was going to be clever and have my electronic Bible on my screen today. In Philippians chapter 1, the 6th verse, the Apostle Paul writing to the church in Philippi, which was part of Greece at the time, or Macedonia, which was Greece, under the Roman Empire. It reads, being confident of this very thing, that he who has begun a good work in you will complete it until the day of Jesus Christ. The work that God has begun in your life since you came to know the Lord, He is going to complete it. Everybody is not a pastor. Everybody is not an evangelist. Everybody's not an apostle. Everybody's not a teacher. Everybody's not this or that. But we all serve a function in the church of God in the earth. Yesterday, I saw a post on Facebook from a lady that used to attend our church before she moved to New Mexico to be closer to family. And she posted something that she had been asking the Lord to give her a ministry. And then it dawned on her. She can talk to the people she works with about Jesus. She can introduce her neighbors to Jesus and talk to them about her faith and what Christ has done for her. And I'm thinking, yes, you got it. That's the whole point. Every single one of us is supposed to serve some kind of a role, and it's the word of our testimony and the blood of the Lamb. That's how we will overcome, according to Revelation. So share what Jesus did for you. Share your answered prayers. Tell people about it. You have no idea what God will do with that information in their lives. It may simply be planting of a seed, and then He's going to have someone else water it. And before you know, up comes a plant, and their lives become fruitful in the kingdom of God. But we don't know. It starts somewhere. And with you and me, those of you watching this most likely have been following the Lord for a while. He's begun the work. The ingredients are all laid out in this recipe that He has chosen for our lives. He's got it all prepared. And there's nothing missing. Unlike when I'm cooking sometimes, I get to a certain spot and I'm like, I forgot to get, whatever, fill in the blank, thyme. I forgot to get thyme. Or I didn't get the cilantro. Or, I forgot the fresh parsley. And that's pretty much the way my cooking goes, because I generally don't have a recipe and I'm going, I need to get all these things. Rarely do I do that. But God does that. All the parts are there. And then when it's time, He introduces the next ingredient. And then the next. And then there's a stirring. Sometimes that's no fun at all. You don't know which way it's up. You wonder what's going on in your life. Is God really hearing me? Is He with me or not? And then there's a resting period. And you're like, oh man, I thought I was going to be used in this way or that way. And the next thing you know, it's all good. Well, I hope this short analogy in this Bible study is helpful and blesses you today. God has begun a good work in you, and He will complete it. And He will keep working until the day that Jesus Christ returns for His church. Well, He'll keep working on the earth even after that during the Great Tribulation. But that's a study for another day. Well, God bless you. We love you. I hope to see you Sunday morning at 10:30 at the True by Hilton. The big conference room on the main floor at 72nd and Haskell. I believe it is Haskell. I say that each week like I'm not sure. I'm 100% certain now. It's Haskell. It's behind the Scooters, which is on 72nd Street. Take a right if you're headed north on 72nd, and you can go there. If you're coming south, you're going to have to go down to Grover and turn around and come back. Well, God bless you. We love you. Keep praying for all of our church family, and we love you so much. Have a great rest of your day.